You are about to engage in the guidebook unit, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. The purpose of this video is to become familiar with a few of the sentence structures that will be used when you read the excerpt from The Robin Who Showed the Way from The Secret Garden, which is another text used in this guidebook unit. Be sure you have your handout and something to write with for the video. During the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe guidebook unit, we will read an excerpt from a story called The Robin Who Showed the Way from the novel The Secret Garden, written by Frances Hodgson Burnett. And sure enough, it features a robin, which probably looks like the bird in the photograph, and is this type of robin commonly found in Europe. Our story takes place in England, so this is probably what it looked like. The other photograph shows the American robin and what that bird looks like. Did you know that a bird with the same name can look very different in other parts of the world? When we read The Robin Who Showed the Way, we will read many different types of sentences, some which will have a similar structure. As I read these three sentences aloud, be thinking about how they might be similar. The first sentence reads, The sun was shining and a little wind was blowing. Not a rough wind, but one which came in delightful little gusts and brought a fresh scent of newly turned earth with it. The second sentence reads, She stopped with a little laugh of pleasure, and there, lo and behold, was the robin, swaying on a long branch of ivy. The third sentence reads, The robin flew from his swinging spray of ivy onto the top of the wall, and he opened his beak and sang a loud, lovely trill, merely to show off. During this video, we will look at these three sentences in detail. We will focus on a couple of similarities and use them to help us unlock the meaning of other sentences we encounter as we read. Here is our first sentence. The sun was shining and a little wind was blowing. Not a rough wind, but one which came in delightful little gusts and brought a fresh scent of newly turned earth with it. What does this sentence mean? I think that it means it's sunny, and every now and then the wind would blow the smell of fresh dirt. Maybe it's springtime, because spring is when people turn their garden soil over so they can plant plants and flowers. Can you picture this description in your mind? Let's look at the sentence again and see what we notice about this punctuation. The different parts of the sentence, interesting words, or phrases the writer uses. Anything at all that stands out to us. One of the first things I notice about the sentence is the punctuation. I see that there is a long dash used after the first part of the sentence. I also notice a comma. I know that those pieces of punctuation should help us break the sentence into smaller chunks. Let's read up to the dash. The sun was shining and a little wind was blowing. All of the action seems to take place in this first chunk. Let's keep reading. Not a rough wind, but one which came in delightful little gusts and brought a fresh scent of newly turned earth with it. Now we are learning more information about the wind. After the dash, we learn that the wind was not rough and that it brought a pleasant scent. As we read on, I noticed a couple of phrases to help me experience what the garden was like that day. I can almost feel those delightful little gusts of wind. And my nose is picking up the smell of fresh soil when I read the words, fresh scent of newly turned earth. As I read, I use my senses of sight, touch, and smell. What do we know that this sentence means? Ask yourself this series of questions. Who or what? The sun and the wind. What did they do? The sun was shining and the wind was blowing. When? The sentence does not tell us. Where? The sentence does not tell us. Why? The sentence doesn't tell us. But how? Well, we know that the wind was not rough and that it was blowing in little gusts. We also know that it brought with it the smell of freshly turned earth. I'm noticing that this sentence mostly describes how the wind blew. Now you are ready to answer a question about what you just learned. Write a summary of the sentence that includes the information it tells us. We have already identified 3 questions that apply to the sentence, so you will want to make sure that the answers to them are included in your summary sentence. Pause this video to record your answer on your handout at the first stop sign. Then hit play when you are ready to continue. Here is an example of a summary sentence you might have written. Yours will probably be phrased differently, and that's fine. The sun was shining and a light wind was blowing in little puffs that smelled like fresh soil. Next, we will examine the structure of the sentence and compare it to another sentence we find in the text. We have already noticed the punctuation. Now I notice that conjunctions are used 3 times in this sentence. And but are conjunctions. I know that conjunctions help make connections between ideas. Here is our second sentence. She stopped with a little laugh of pleasure, and there, lo and behold, was the robin swaying on a long branch of ivy. How is it similar to our first sentence? I notice that this sentence also contains the conjunction and. I see that in this sentence, the conjunction and is being used to join 2 separate sentences into one, just like the first and in the first sentence. Let's take a closer look at how this sentence works so we can use it as a model to write our own compound sentence. Let's pick apart the 2 sentences that make up this compound sentence. The first sentence is, she stopped with a little laugh of pleasure. The second sentence is, there, lo and behold, was the robin swaying on a long branch of ivy. The conjunction and makes the connection. At the beginning of the second sentence, the phrase, lo and behold, appears, separated from the rest of the words in the sentence by commas. Lo and behold is an expression people sometimes use when they are surprised by something that suddenly appears, like this girl is when she suddenly sees the robin. Here is a sentence frame that we could create from this sentence. She blank, comma, and there, comma, lo and behold, comma, was blank. Next, we will use this sentence frame to create our own sentence about the reading. Now you are ready to use the sentence frame to write a sentence of your own. Write a sentence about a time you were surprised by something. Pause this video to record your answer on your handout at the second stop sign. Then hit play when you are ready to continue. Your sentence will not be the same as mine, of course, but it should follow the frame. Here's my sentence. I walked through the front door, and there, lo and behold, was a little black puppy. Here is a list of 3 things the robin did. The first part of the sentence tells us that the robin flew from his ivy to the top of the wall. Then the conjunction and led us right to the other 2 actions. He opened his beak, and he sang with a trill, which is a series of repeated notes. Here's a list of 3 things that the robin did. What do these sentences tell us? Here are 3 sentences that we examined closely during this lesson. Look at all of the conjunctions the writer used, especially the conjunction and. What about the ideas does the writer communicate? Can we find any similarities there? What about the wind? When the wind came in delightful little gust, there was a fresh scent of newly turned earth. She gave us a little laugh of pleasure, and she saw the robin swaying. She heard him sing a loud, lovely trill. All 3 of these sentences give me the feeling that the robin has appeared early in spring to announce the start of a beautiful new day. Paying attention to sentence patterns when you read the text in the guidebook unit, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, will allow you to read faster and with more understanding. Paying attention to patterns also helps you write better sentences. When you finish this video, be sure to turn in your completed handout to your teacher.